ActiveCampaign Wait and Tell. In this video, I'm going to cover the powerful but sometimes confusing wait and tell capability that ActiveCampaign provides in their automations. Now there's two scenarios. One is wait for a specified period of time, or wait until specific conditions are met. We're going to focus on the second one, and that's the one in my opinion that's more powerful. And to do so, I'm going to show you some examples and then give you pros and cons and gotchas to watch out for. So let's dive right in. Inside your ActiveCampaign account, you want to be obviously in an automation. How somebody gets into there, I don't care. What we're going to do in here is put in some wait conditions. So let's start with what I consider the easy one, which is wait until a certain time of day. So if you were to go in here and put a wait condition, two options: wait for a specified period of time or until specific. We're going to focus on this one for this example, and again, in my opinion, this is the easy one. So it says wait for, and then here we can do minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years. Now, the minimum amount of minutes that I understand is 5 minutes, and even that isn't perfect. So in other words, if they get in here 5 minutes later, they may or may not have moved on to the next step. My guess is ActiveCampaign will fire off an event to get them to move on the 5-minute mark. Total speculation on my part, but I think that's what happens. So for instance, if somebody joins at, let's say, 4 minutes after the hour, they're not going to get pushed through at 9 minutes after the hour. They might get pushed through at 10 minutes after the hour. So they actually wait 6 minutes. So just keep that in mind. You know, if you get down to this smaller time frame, the resolution isn't as good or nearly as perfect. And then, you know, something else to point out. Well, no, that's it. I'm just going to say that. I'll show you in a different one. Now let's do wait and tell. Now, this is basically going into the other scenario, and I'm not going to go into it from here, but basically that's the one, the more complicated, if you will, to use. So let me just go back here. I actually defaulted to 1 day. That's it. That's pretty darn simple. Those are the kind of things you can do in here. There's nothing beyond a simple wait for 1 day. So here's one where, let's say we only want to do something on a weekday. And that's where the other option comes in. So I'm going to get rid of this guy. I'm going to go back to here, put a wait until specific conditions are met. And let me see if I can find this. Where are you? I'm going to start with this one. Yeah, where is it? All right, here at current day of the week is weekday or weekend. They make it easy. So this meets my rule, if you will. So you can just simply say it's a weekday. And then if they join on Saturday, they wait until it is Monday before, if that's how you've set up your weeks, before they move on to the next step. Now here's something I want to point out I think is kind of important in my opinion. Notice it says current day of the week, America, Boise. That's where I live. That's how I've set up my account. However, we could also use the contact's time zone, and that might be more appropriate. I tend not to do that, and the reason is I don't believe it's always correct. So for instance, what I've noticed is sometimes you send out emails like a campaign email, and then you'll notice people read your emails immediately, which I have a hard time believing all these people do. My observation is Gmail tends to open up emails and sample them, if you will. They're just checking for whatever reason. And then ActiveCampaign picks up on that information that they're in Mountain View, California. That's not necessarily the case, but that might be where Google or Gmail is. So they can change their time zone based on that. So I would just be careful about that. Same with location. Location is what I should say. So my preference is to always use wherever my time zone is. And I've got it set up to be in Boise, Idaho. So that's just one thing. So there's weekday. Now, we could have done this a more difficult way. And just for fun, let's do this. If it's Sunday, if it is Monday, or if it's Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday or Friday. So you would do something like this, current day of the week, and that's in the context time zone. And there we go, is Tuesday, is Monday, Tuesday, etc., etc. So I'd have 5 or conditions. Notice it's an or, not an and I'm also not using the segment here. Now, if it's just simply weekday versus weekend, I would fall back to what ActiveCampaign provides. But if it's something like, oh, I only want it to go out on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then I would use something like this. And then you would click on Save. Now watch, there's one other thing I think that comes up. Maybe. Now, here's kind of an important one to take into account. No time limit. Now, we know Monday and Tuesday is going to occur every week, so we don't have to worry about this. So you could say no time limit. Alternatively, you could say up to 7, 8 days, just to be sure. But if Monday or Tuesday never occurs again, well, I don't think you have to worry about anything at that point. So in this case, I'm not going to worry about a time limit. There are scenarios where you might want to do that. So in this case, I've set it up so that it's actually Monday, Tuesday, then I would send an email. So that way you can reference, for instance, how is your week going? I know it's the start of the week. How is your week going? So you can personalize it a little bit more based on what you've done before you send this email. Okay, here's one I'm going to show you, which I think is probably one of the most powerful things, is how do I pause an automation while a person is in another automation? Okay, that's a good one. So the scenario would be they come into here, you send them emails, and then you put them into another automation. And I'm just pulling something up. I'm just going to pull that one up. So they're in that automation. And you don't want them to continue until they finish that automation. So what I would do is I'd put in a wait until specific conditions are met. And then I want to go in here, and I think it's actions. Has ended an automation. So I would do that. Then I would go find that automation. Now, this is a scenario where you don't necessarily want to wait for them indefinitely, do you? You may or may not. Maybe you put a 1 week limit on that. So I'm going to say up to 7 days or 1 week and click on Save. So what that means is if they haven't finished that other automation in 7 days, or in 1 week, they will continue on. So they can sit for up to 7 days here while they're in there. But if they finish this automation, let's say in 4 days, well, they're going to keep going on because after 4 days, because they've met this criteria. Now, the thing you want to do after that is probably check, are they still in this automation? So I'm going to put an if statement in there. And we are going to go back to actions, and so we can do that or not currently in automation or not currently. So one of those 3 things will work, but whichever one you choose will dictate what you do next. So I'm going to say, are they in the automation? So now what we know is if 7 days have gone by and they're still in this automation, then we're going to go down this yes path. Or we're going to go down the no path if they've finished it. So you might have over here say, hey, Dave, I saw that you're still in this automation. What's your problem? Or, hey, Dave, on the no path, thank you for completing that automation. Something like that. This way you know something about that person. So that's a scenario where you might want to wait for a certain amount of time and then check, are they in the other automation or not? Now, here's another scenario. I'm going to start just deleting stuff left and right. Let's say you've sent out an email, and I do not know if I have an email. Okay, yeah, let's just use that. Now, you want to know if they've opened this email or clicked a link. Let's just go with opened. And I'll be honest, opens I don't think are great. Clicks I think are better because we can count on clicks. We can't necessarily count on opens. That Gmail example I gave you earlier where they, Gmail likes to sample emails, that might screw up this here. So what you can do here is put another wait until. And again, it's specific conditions. And I would say something like, again, I think it's going to be actions. Has opened, has not opened. So I'm going to do has not opened, not any email. It's going to be this one, this guy right here. ebook plus tripwire template. And again, in my opinion, it's important to have a time limit on this one. So I'm just going to say up to a day. So up to 1 day. So we wait for up to a day, and then guess what? We're going to check. Did they or did they not open that email? So has not opened. So let's do has not opened. So this is one of those scenarios again where I might simply resend this email as is, or maybe have a different version that I send out. And then here, maybe I send a different email or I go down a different path. But in this case, I'm waiting until they've done something for a certain amount of time before I move them along. In general, I want them to open the email. I want them to click. I want them to do something. And then I can check after I've waited for an appropriate amount of time. Okay, so here's another one, and you might think, well, yeah, I can just send their login details. Sure, that works, but let me show you why that's a little bit challenging sometimes. So I'm going to get rid of what we've got here, and I'm going to get rid of that. Now, let's just, let's just assume this is the login details for somebody to get into my membership site. I could just send it right away. But what happens if they don't already have a password set up? And I've got something going on, a membership site that automatically generates a password and then sends it back to ActiveCampaign. So I might have a custom field called password, and if it's empty, I don't want to send an email. But if it's populated, I do want to send an email. So here's one way to handle that. Is first thing they do, they come in here, we do a check. Let me check. Yes. Well, it's one of our wait and tells for, nope, sorry, not that. Specific conditions are met. And this is going to be a custom field, and hopefully there it is. Password is blank or not blank. So is it not blank? And I used to use is greater than, and then I would leave this empty, but ActiveCampaign's added this in, so this is kind of a nice is not blank. So in other words, there's something in there. So if I do that, and in my opinion, time limit's very important here, so I'm just going to say up to 5 minutes. So we just want to make sure there's a password present before we send this email. Now, again, I'm going to put an if statement here to make sure it actually is populated. So we go ahead and we check, is this custom field? And I'm going to say is not blank. There we go. So we said, is it not blank? We wait for up to 5 minutes, then we check the same thing. Is it not blank? Great, send them this email, and we're done. However, what if it is blank? Well, in that case, what I would do is something like this, and this is to, make sure there's a great customer experience. And let me just see if there's another email. I'm just going to do this, but please understand what I'm doing right here is I'm sending them, I want to send this email out if they don't have a password. And that email should say something like, hey Dave, we'll have your email, your password, login details sent to you soon. Now this should all happen within 5 minutes or thereabouts, or less. In other words, if they come in here and they've already got their password set, they go through here, perfect, they get it instantly. If they don't, after 5 minutes, we send them an email that says, hey, we're going to send you your login details soon. And then, importantly, you want to send a notification to somebody. It says, hey, figure out what is wrong here. Something went wrong. And then it's basically a message to you or to somebody to go figure out what the heck went wrong. And then all I do is I'm going to end the automation here. So in a perfect world, nobody would ever go down this no path. In reality, it does happen sometimes, but this way you can prevent a horrible user experience from happening and kind of help them understand, hey, we're going to get to you soon, and then somebody gets notified to take care of that. Okay, last thing I want to show you here is how do you test all this stuff? You know, I don't want to sit around for 5 minutes or 1 day or 1 hour or 1 week to make sure it's working properly. So what you can do is, for instance, let me just make this active. This is the wait until. I'm going to go find me, or one version of me in here. And I'm going to use this poor guy here as an example, and I'm going to push him into an automation. Where are you? Give it a second. There, a little refresh. Sorry. I'm sorry, I really just need to go down here. Now, I want to push myself into that automation, so I'm going to go ahead and add it to, what did we call it? Wait until. So go ahead, push myself in there. And it'll show up on the side here, or it'll show up here. So notice this, it says 0%, so maybe I haven't even really gone. So I'm going to go to View. Now here, this is what you do. All you have to do is just click on that, and then they will go down the appropriate path. And this is how you can check. So in other words, is the password field blank? So really, I should know if that's blank or not prior to even coming here. And then just click on this, and it'll go down there, and it'll show you where I am now. Now, you don't want to do this on somebody else. You want to do it on yourself. And then you could change the conditions, push them back into here. Nice little things, they'll show you what happened over here. They did not meet the conditions, that's in red, and this says it was skipped. So here I am now, and I'm just going, actually I'm going to end this automation because I don't want to send a notification. But that's how you use the wait until condition in ActiveCampaign.